So you're thinking about making a move to Bend or somewhere else here in Central Oregon, or you're already here getting ready for that lateral move. You've been watching the market for a while and now it's time to jump in. Well, there's not a better time of year to be getting active in the real estate market, especially locally here in Bend and Central Oregon, than right here, right now in the month of April, going into May and then into June. Historically speaking, the months of March all the way through, say, the end of September and early October, those are the prime months for real estate related activity. And what better time to jump in than the early portion of that 6 to 7 month stretch where we see the highest uptick in our annual volume as it relates to real estate transactions here in Central Oregon. So today, what we're going to be doing is going over the monthly update as it pertains to the real estate market here in Bend and Central Oregon for the month of April. A lot's changed and we have a lot to expect as we go further and further into the spring buying and selling season. So if a video like this sounds like it could be of service to you, the monthly update as it pertains to the local real estate market here in Bend and Central Oregon, stick around. We're jumping into this market update right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel, or it's your 50th, that doesn't matter to me, and you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, working, playing, the good with the bad, the current state of the market here in Bend and Central Oregon, then subscribe to the channel, tap that notification bell below so you can be the first to know about the current market happenings here in Bend and Central Oregon. My name's Ryan. I've lived in Bend for over 30 years. Zach and I, we get calls and texts every day from people just like you, looking for help with their next transaction as it relates to real estate here in Bend and Central Oregon. So whether you're looking to make that transaction a possibility in the next 9 days or 90 days or beyond that, that also doesn't matter to us. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, set up a Zoom call even. Or if you're local, let's go get coffee somewhere and we can discuss your situation face to face to figure out what the next course of action should be. So now we're into April. Historically, annually, this is kind of like that month where everything starts to tick up a notch. As we get into the better weather, we get into more of a seasonality where it allows for real estate related activity. Whether you're listing a home or whether you're getting ready to go look at homes on a regular basis to find out which home is the best fit for you, we see more volume come to market. We also see more people entering into the market from a buyer perspective to look for that home that's going to best suit their needs. And each and every year, you're going to see this here on the charts here in just a moment, but it just seems like it dips down in the wintertime in terms of volume and activity. And then sure enough, March and April come by and we just start to shoot up again. And this is going to be no exception this month as it relates to 2025. What we're going to be looking at in this video is the current median home price for Bend, for Redmond, and for some smaller market towns here in Central Oregon, as well as looking at other key metrics as it relates to the current residential real estate market to give you the best understanding as to what's going on right now in the market. Whether you're buying, whether you're selling, whether you're doing a combination of the two, it's best that you know everything as it relates to the current state of the market so you can be best prepared for your moment when it arrives. So with all that being said, we're just going to jump into the computer right now. I'm going to share my screen and we will just kind of break down the monthly data as we just received it to give you that firm understanding as to what's going on. So I will see you inside the Beacon report in just a second. Okay, so we are looking at the Beacon report for the month of April. As you can see right here, it's dated April 7th. We usually get our data about a week into the month. And basically this data all pertains to March and before that. As you know, if you've seen these types of videos before, what we're gonna be looking at is some very telling data. We're gonna scroll down here and just take a look at the current median home price for Bend. Right now, it did shoot up a little bit over the last month and we're back up to just about $750,000. That is $52,000 away from our all-time high. That was just about 6 months ago in October of 2024. We have had it again at a previous date. That was July of 2023, but $800,000 is the all-time high and 748 is kind of flirting with that all-time high again. Will we see an all-time high here in Bend over the next 6 months or so as we get into that really, really busy and active time of year? Maybe. We'll see. You just never really know. We thought we'd see it again last year, but we didn't quite see it in 2024 as we eclipsed 775 for the local all-time high for 2024. And then for the summer of 2024. And then, of course, we saw that later in the year in October where we got up to 800. So will we see it again? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. A lot of things going on from a macroscape right now. Interest rates are just seemingly like a roller coaster right now. We had our 6-month low just about 4 days ago, sitting at about 6.6% for a 30-year mortgage, and then all of a sudden it shot back up again. So a lot going on in the news that's really kind of teetering and fluctuating the current state of the market as it relates to rates too. We had last week, when we had those rates at 6.6%, we had what we were considering the highest volume of new applications for mortgages too in about 6 months as well. So you can tell that people are waiting right there on the sidelines for that perfect moment, and all of a sudden that moment just came and went. That was a very quick moment for sure, but we'll see if we get another one of those here in the next couple weeks as we continue progressing forward. Now, if we look down here, what we're going to see is kind of like that uptick in volume that I was alluding to earlier in this video. And what you can see here is the same old line pattern that we get every 12-month period. Now, this chart here is going to be 36 months total. And so it goes back 3 total years, but every single January, February, what you see is kind of a downtick and a downtrend in our monthly volume. And then sure enough, in March and April, we start to shoot up again. So March, we saw a large increase in volume from 94 transactions in February all the way up to 122 here in Bend for a single month. And I would expect that to continue to rise as we get into more of April, May, June. As you can see, if you look at the history, it kind of leaves clues, right? March, April, we see just a large uptick in volume. But what we're going to notice here is that our inventory kind of remains the same. Even though we have more transactions each and every month. What does that really tell us? Well, it tells us that more buyers are coming into the market to look for a home to purchase as well. And we'll see that here in just a second. Let's continue on and we'll look at our days on market. Another very telling statistic and metric as it relates to gauging where things are at with the local real estate market. We had 4, maybe 5 straight months actually, of over 40 days on market for single family residences here in Bend. And we really didn't have anything like that dating back beyond 3 years, probably 7, 8 years, to be honest. We had 1 month about 2 years ago where we were at 50 days and then it just shot right back down, as you can see that. And then in 2024, we had 2 months of 40. But if we really scale back and look at our last 5 months, and this goes into 2025 and starts at the very tail end of 2024, what we noticed was a very big trend in terms of days on market going up and lasting. And we finally came back down below 40 for the first time. Will that go down significantly more next month? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But what we do know is that we expect, and we can expect it with conviction, that we're going to see a large uptick in monthly transaction volume, because this is the way it always works, no matter what the rest of the state of the market really suggests. Some people, no matter where rates are at, some people have to sell, have to buy, and that's just the way it is. I feel like 2024 was really the exception to that rule, where a lot of people knew they had to do something, but they didn't really have to do it ultimately last year, and they decided to wait for a better rate because they abruptly went up so fast back in 2022 in early 2023. The thought and theory was they will abruptly come back down in 2024, and a lot of people waited for that moment and it never showed up. And so now here we are with 7% kind of as that new baseline, that new barometer. Will that retain itself, and will anything below 7% represent kind of a bargaining chip and an opportunity? Well, we're seeing right now with where they were last week for that very brief day on April 4th, 6.61%. A lot of people jumped into the market because they felt like that was the right number for them. Will we see that number again soon? Maybe. It's not too far away from where we're currently at, but we did kind of rise back up on April 5th moving forward. A lot of turmoil right now. Let's continue on. Here, we see some more statistics. This is our month supply, another very important metric as I give you the data for Bend over the last month. And so you can see here that we're back up for 2 months in a row of 3 months of inventory, which is nice because historically over the last, say, 5 years going back to 2020, we were in this range the whole time. You can see here that we're kind of getting out of it now. But again, 1 month, 2 months, 1.5 months of inventory is really not that much. But you can see kind of like right here at the beginning of February 2024, we had a couple of 2 month supply months, and then we started to really uptick. And so I feel like that's kind of where we've been ever since, and it looks like it's continuing this month as well. But for a long time before March of 2024, we had very little inventory on the market. And again, 3 months is not an overwhelming volume of inventory, but it's enough to kind of balance things out a little bit. Now, gone are the days where a home gets listed on a Thursday and has multiple offers and a request for acceptance by Sunday, 3 days later. I mean, we're not doing that right now. And so homes are sitting. We saw that earlier on that previous slide, 32 days. And it just kind of promotes a little bit more balance, even though 3 months is not an overwhelming volume of supply. It does help, though, especially for Bend, because Bend is such a sought-after area. Now let's continue on and check out Redmond. Now, Redmond has been like the trusty, dusty, very stable market. It seems like it's, as far as the median home price goes, for some time. We've been over $500,000, or at least in the $500,000 range for a median home price Since, gosh, consistently July of 2023, just a couple of months here, maybe in the slower parts of the year where we would dip under 500, but just barely. And then we shot back up to a new all-time high in January, just a couple months ago. That's Redmond's all-time high, 562,000. 2 months removed from that, we're sitting at 523 now. That is our current median home price for the city of Redmond, 40,000 people, and it's growing like gangbusters, similar to Bend. And there is a large demand for homes in Redmond. And 500,000 isn't just new in terms of July of 2023. If you scale back, you see that $500,000 for a median home price or above that is pretty typical for Redmond. It's crazy to think how quickly values of homes have gone up in Redmond because it is such a great alternative to Bend in terms of living there in a city or in at least a town that has all the amenities and all the necessary things that a town would need to have for it to be a replacement of Bend. And that's basically Redmond, the only true option outside of Bend in terms of living in a town with just about every amenity. The nice part about being in Central Oregon is that it's just not too far from anywhere. You can be in Sisters, you can be in Prineville, you can be in Madras, you can be in Lapine, and it's just a very short drive to get to the big city to accommodate all your needs that those smaller towns don't necessarily offer. So again, Redmond is bustling, and these smaller market towns, they really are too. They just have a significantly lower volume of sales every month, and we'll see that here in a second. But let's kind of continue on here with Redmond because our number of sales is interesting. We're at 42, and Ben shot up to 122. I think the previous month's update videos, I think we were looking at like a 2-to-1 ratio, and now we're looking at what could be, looks like a 3-to-1 ratio. We're kind of getting back to normal as far as like the total volume of sales go. Bend should have at least 3x the volume of sales every month in Redmond, but Redmond was really competitive there for a long time. And so that was very interesting to me to watch that data each month for the last, say, 6 months or so. But if we continue to kind of explore where we're at with Redmond, again, we're sitting at 42 sales last month and then 45 for the previous month. These are the two of the slower months of the year, but you notice an uptick. That's what's interesting is that it kind of trended down ever so slightly. But if you look at the recent data over the last 36 months, you see that the busiest month of the year generally is in the summertime, whether it's June or it's July, but it's usually the summer months each and every year. That's going to represent some of the busier times. Again, exception here with 105. That's the busiest month we had in the last 36 months, and that was a March month of 2022. So you just don't always trust the data, but they tend to give you ideas and clues as to what the ebbs and flows are going to be. And that's why we have this term called the spring transaction season, because it happens every year. And so let's go back to the next metric here. That's days on market. And that came down as well. So Ben saw a noticeable decrease in days on market, which means that there's more demand, more people in the market, probably putting pressure on each other to try and make some sort of decision as it relates to making a purchase. And so Redmond saw that from 60 to 50 to 34 days on market. Will we see that go down as we get into a more active season, heading into April, heading into May, heading into June? We're going to find out real soon. Generally speaking, you would expect something similar like this week, that what we saw here in 2023, January and February, they were very slow months. Days on market were up to 56, and then boom, just shot down like crazy all the way down to 19. And then even into the summer months, it was very, very active, very, very competitive. So let's continue to scroll down and we'll look at our months of supply, another very telling metric. And so you see Redmond is just not really able to keep up. The volume of inventory is at 2 months. Now that's the 5th month in a row. And if you scale back again, we had kind of that little teaser area where we had 3 months and maybe up to 4 months here, which was nice. But again, a balanced market is more inventory on the market. And so Redmond clearly is in demand, and it's kind of in the same range, 2 months, that we were in at the tail end of that COVID boom that we experienced. But you can see some of the metrics there from back when times were really crazy, less than a month of inventory. And this was like normal. I mean, if you go back this way, what you see is basically like months on end of a month or less, or in that range. It was pretty wild. But we're getting sort of balanced out here in Redmond. They could use more. 2 months is not a ton, but it's definitely better than where we were a couple of years ago. Now, if we scroll down and we explore the smaller markets of Central Oregon, again, not a ton of transactions occur each and every month in little towns like Sisters. And so this metric here, the median home price, is going to have wide fluctuations because it's just based off of 12 sales, right? Days on market, 7. I mean, that again fluctuates like crazy. There could be a huge home out there in Sisters that's been sitting on the market for 300 and 400 days, and then all of a sudden it finally sells, and this number goes up to like 60, whatever it is. I mean, so each month it's going to be very, very variable, all these small markets. But, we had 12 sales in Sisters last month, 4 months of inventory. Okay, Sun River, 880,000 for a median home price, 12 sales. I think a couple of those months in the last, say, 6 months in the wintertime, we had like 3 sales. and it was basically that was your median home price based off of 3 sales. So 12 is a decent number for Sun River. Days on market, 12 and 4 months of inventory. See, these small markets have a lot of inventory, and La Pine obviously is no exception. 420,000. Number of sales was 11 last month. We had days on market of 5. Wild. La Pine is known for, days on market being like 70, 80, 90 days. And so it's very interesting to see that with 5 months of inventory. Jefferson County, okay, Madras dipped below 300,000 for a median home price. That's got to be for the first time in a while, I would suspect. 7 sales, 50 days on market, 5 months of inventory. Crook County and Prineville, 390, 23 sales, 51 days on market with 3 months of inventory. So very interesting statistics and metrics in today's market update video. We obviously know one thing. We're heading into April and May and June. That is a fact. That's something that we cannot control, and that is ironclad. Everything else going on in the world is kind of up in the air, right? We don't know for sure what's going to happen. Sometimes you turn on the news and one thing uttered by a certain person's voice fluctuates the market by like 5-6%. That's the financial market, and sometimes there's ancillary consequences with mortgage rates and with the housing market. A lot of people are kind of feeling spooked right now. They feel like maybe I need to just get out of the market and just wait on the sideline to watch the dust settle. And that could be fine. It depends on your situation. So we've got, another variable, another unknown. The ambiguity is pretty wild. There's always something that's uncertain each and every year. Last year, it was the frightening aspect of rates being so high abruptly, and then the hope that they would come down abruptly as well. That didn't happen. This year, we have a new president, and he's starting to shake things up a little bit. We don't really know what the result of some of those decisions that he's made is going to showcase for us over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And so people might be more willing to wait, but at the same time, that also creates an opportunity for those that it doesn't bother and those that know they need to make a purchase or need to make a sale. It creates opportunity. So where some people view things as kind of a risk, other people view it as an opportunity. One thing we do know, generally speaking, about the Bend and Central Oregon area, but especially Bend, is that when you choose to make a purchase for a single family residence in some capacity here in Bend, and you decide that you're going to be in it for a while or going to own it for a while, it tends to be a good investment. It goes up in value over the course of time. If you're doing it for the short term, generally speaking, you probably shouldn't be investing in real estate if it's for a short-term investment purpose. If you're in it for the long term, what we know is that the median home price in Bend back in 2012 and before that was in the $200,000 to $225,000 range or below. At times it was below $200,000. That was 12 or 13 years ago, and since then it has quadrupled in value. And I understand it was the kind of the recovery period from a certain financial crisis back in 2008, but what we do know is that more recently the median home price in Bend back in 2019 was under $500,000 and closer to $400,000. That was just 6 years ago. So double in price in just a 6-year period. That's what happens when you hold real estate, especially in a hot market like Bend, for an extended period of time. So if you're worried about timing a market, you will never not be worried about timing a market. That's just the way it is. For those people that feel like the way to go about getting into business with real estate or with financial markets is to time a market, I've got news for you. You will be stressed out about timing the market every day for the rest of your life if that is your mentality. But if you're in the market for the long haul, it tends to pay off. And that is going to be how we wrap up today's video. Bend is a very hot area. It's very popular. There's a lot going on. We can't build homes fast enough to accommodate the demand. And that's going to be the case probably for the significant future as Bend continues to get further and further in the spotlight nationally, in addition to internationally. We've got clients that have called us from other countries. We've got clients that call us from every time zone in the United States. And so with that, we thank you for being tuned into this channel and watching our content. And when it's your time to reach out, please do so. It starts with you. You've got to call us. You've got to text us. You've got to email us, or you can set up a Zoom call by way of an email or a call, and we can meet face to face through the computer. And if you're local, let's go meet somewhere for coffee so we can discuss your situation. That's Zach's and myself's mission as it relates to this channel, to help you make that transaction the right transaction the first time upon arrival. Again, my name's Ryan. I'm a licensed broker with eXp Realty. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.